Hello, it's Sarah Zolecki. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hi, everybody.
So nice to have you on the Balanced, Beautiful, Abundant show. And this interview is really special for me because I've known you for about 25 years.
Yes.
And I met you in another direct marketing company, and we had friends. We saw each other at trainings, and now it's 25 years later. And out of all the people we used to hang out with, you're the most successful one.
Well, I don't know about that, but oh my gosh, thank you for that compliment.
So, of course, I'm going to ask you how you did it. But first, let me tell my listeners a little bit about your story. So, Sarah started off as a nanny, and she suffered from loneliness and fear that she wasn't good enough to becoming this world renowned leader in network marketing. She is now a motivational speaker, an international business trainer, and she is raising two young kids and having just a loving, joyous, wonderful marriage. So I want to ask you, do you still struggle with those feelings of not good enough?
Oh my gosh, I think everyone does, right?
Yeah.
I think I think you don't ever get over it, but you learn how to manage it,
Yeah.
right?
So what are some of your coping strategies or tips? Because I think you're right. It's universal. All humans feel at some point that they're not good enough or that I call it never enoughism, not good enoughism. So what kind of strategies can you share with our listeners? How do you deal with it?
Well, I think it's important for all of us to realize that we all have value and we all have a message no matter what it is. And it's important to realize that. And I just think for myself, I think that the not good enough too is almost a little bit of perfectionism, right? Feeling
Mhm.
you're not good enough because it's wanting to do things perfectly. And I think too, because of that, there's a lot of fear, right, in our lives. And so I think for me, I've actually learned how to help manage my fear really more than anything. And I actually had read a book. It was a long time ago, over a decade ago, that was called Conquer Fear. If you haven't read it, it's a fantastic book. And one of the things that she talked about in there is learning how to have a different perspective of fear. And instead of being afraid and having the unknown, it's learning how to be excited about that. Because on the other side of it, man, there is a lot of breakthroughs and a lot of goodness that happens, right? And so for me, whenever I have that feeling of fear coming up, no matter what it is in my life, it could be something fearful that, I'm doing with raising my kids or my business or my, do whatever, right? There's so much stuff. I just stop and I realize at the moment that I feel that, it's actually my green light to go and to get excited. And so now, whenever I have that feeling of fear, whatever it is in my life, I now go. There's so many times I've told my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared. And this is so amazing because I know what's getting ready to happen. Right. And so I just learned how to have that perspective, and it helps me where Rebecca, like now, the unknown, right? And there's a lot of unknown right now, right? Let's face it, there's a
Yeah.
lot of unknown. I am really excited about that. Like I get really excited about the unknown side of it. And so I think it's just learning how to have just a totally different perspective when it comes to the feeling not good enough, the perfectionism, which really all of that is just fear. I mean, let's just face
Yes.
it. So that's kind of how that's my big coping, skill that I do probably every other day, really.
That is beautiful. I like to call it nerve sighted because
Oh, I
fear
love
and
that.
excitement are the same emotion. It's just if you're thinking positively or negatively about the outcome.
Yes,
So
exactly.
shifting from fear to excitement, and fear stands for false evidence appearing real.
Yep.
So I really love that, shifting from fear to excitement. And now you've retrained your mind. So you've literally like retrained the neural pathways in your brain to, instead of being fearful of the unknown, to be excited about the
Ex-
unknown, which is
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah. But it takes time though, too,
Oh,
right? You
yeah.
really have to it's not like just the first time I do it, I'm like, hey, I'm good. No, like you have to like force yourself to do that until it like gets in the grooves of your brain, right?
It's a practice. I mean, it's a
Yes.
discipline, and when you're rewiring your brain from fear to love or from negative to positive, it's a practice, and it does take time. So be patient with yourself, and it's like a daily discipline, just like working out or brushing our teeth, like because so much in our society is fear based, like the
Yes.
news and all the media is like fear, 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 fear. So
Yeah.
not to give into that fear consciousness is definitely a practice and a discipline. So yeah, like be patient with yourself, listeners. So I know you are a very successful entrepreneur, $80 million a year in revenue, probably even more since I read that bio, because you guys have had your best year ever. Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
more success stories come out of recessions than any other period in American history. And you're one
Yep.
of those success stories. So I just want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
Sure. What advice would you tell someone who is just starting their journey? Like maybe today's day one and they hear this podcast and they're like, I'm sick and tired of my job. I'm inspired by what Sarah did. What do I do? How do I start my journey as being an entrepreneur? What would you tell that person?
Well, I think first of all, you got to figure out what turns you on, right? I mean, what are you passionate about? I mean, you could go start any business, but if you're like, if it's not like burning in the gut of your belly, like hang it up, like don't even start, right? Because there are going to be all these challenges that we go through and the ebbs and flows of a business with being an entrepreneur that, you've got to have, right? In the book Think and Grow Rich, you have to have that burning desire, right? If you don't have the desire, well, any little thing that happens, it's going to be a hiccup. Someone's going to say boo, and then you're going to freak out and quit, right? So
Right.
it's like you've got to figure out for you, like what do you get excited about? Like, what's a thing that if someone asks you a question about, you cannot stop talking about it, right? Like, what is something that you would, stand on top of a soapbox on and just talk, right? And just be super passionate. I think you have to kind of figure that out. And I think too, what for a lot of people, I think so many times people are trying to figure out what path they want to go down as far as starting a business. But I think it's important too to figure out like your purpose piece. I think sometimes the purpose for people, they feel like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like people have to like go in the wilderness, sit on a rock, sit and think about it forever, and then it's just going to get like downloaded. And the reality is that your purpose most of the time is like sitting on the tip of your tongue. Like it's like again, it's like what's the stuff that gets you fired up? Like don't second guess that. Like that intuition is super powerful, and that's it a lot of times. So I think it's figuring out what that is that gets you lit up, and then go do research on it. Go do your homework on it, right? Go figure out like, hey, like there might be some of these businesses in that arena that are good, but how can you make it better? Right.
Right.
And that needs to be the thing that you plug in with. And then obviously, it's that entrepreneur learning how to be resourceful, figuring it out, right? All of that type of stuff. Then obviously logistics and stuff will come after. But I really think the drive and the purpose piece is, I mean, that's what's going to carry somebody long term, right? With building a business.
So what's your why? What's your purpose in building a business?
You know what? I wanted to be a part of something that was bigger than me. I wanted somebody, when I first got started as an entrepreneur, you know what? Straight up, I just wanted to be somebody. As silly as that sounds, I just wanted to be somebody. I grew up in a really very, very middle class family in, Minnesota, right in the Midwest, and oldest out of four. Didn't finish college, not because I wasn't smart. I just kind of took another path, and I wanted to be somebody. I was like, man, I wanted to be somebody that I could be proud of, that people would be proud of me, that my parents would be proud of, that somebody said, wow, I'm inspired by her. And that's really why I got in the beginning, right, to start building a business. But like now for me, fast forward, I mean, to me, it's just, I love, well, number one, two parts of this. Number one, I've got two little kids, a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, right? So my why really is I want my kids to see what it's like to chase a dream.
Nice.
I want them to see what it's like to work hard. I want them to see what it's like to fall down on your face and cry your eyeballs out and skin your knee and get back up. And I want them to see what it's like to triumph and have wins and make an impact and make a difference. And right, like I love for them to see somebody adapting and what does it mean to be flexible and figuring it out and being a problem solver, right? Like all of those things. So I love doing those things every day because my kids see all of that. They see all of that. So we can try to teach our kids all that, or
Right.
we can be that in front of them and they will become that.
They're watching and they're absorbing everything.
Totally. So that piece for me, that, I mean, I think that's my why with my kids. But then the second piece of that is just, I really want to make a difference and on a big scale. And I feel that the business that I'm in is extremely scalable and has been scaling.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I look at every person that I meet, either A, I'm going to enrich their life, or B, they're going to enrich mine, which
Yeah.
is a blessing, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that, that those two are really my driving force on why still to this day I work so hard is I feel like those are like my job descriptions really in my life.
Love it. I love that so much. So I know this is not your first rodeo, although it is your most successful rodeo and probably your last because you probably, have enough money to retire tomorrow if you want to.
Yeah.
So what was your path? Like how many different network marketing companies were you in, and how did you kind of deal with the rejection and maybe the judgment from your friends and family? Like, oh, Sarah's in another one of those deals. So how did you experience like rejection and judgment based on your path?
So I've been in network marketing 23 years, and the company that I'm with now is just my third company.
Wow.
So yeah, so I've just been with 3 companies for 23 years. So, but I did take a hiatus, right? So I was with the company for 5 years, went out of business.
That's where we met. That was the
That's where
first
we
one.
met,
Yep.
yeah. And so I took my skills that
Yep.
I learned on just developing relationships and that sort of thing, and just investing in friendships and so forth. And I actually became a corporate recruiter. So I don't even know if you know that. So
I didn't know that.
yeah, so I did corporate recruiting for C-level execs for a number of years. Then was actually brought back in, introduced to network marketing. And I'll tell you, I came in kicking and screaming. I had my fingers crossed, my toes crossed, everything. I was just like, oh man. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to see how this goes. And long story short, I met my husband in that company. So how cool is that? And then we actually built a business together there for 8 years. And then the company that I'm with now for the last 7, I was actually brought in to consult for them to help create this new business model that we've been building for, 7 years together. And here we are. So I think for when you talk about the rejection piece, I think it's just really, it's important. I think even just in sales is understanding that when people say no, when your product is rejected, your service is rejected, you can't get a business appointment, whatever it may be, they're not saying no to you. They're just saying no to that.
Right.
It has nothing to do with you. So the more that you can just understand that, there's a sales process, and just learning how to fall in love with the process versus the results.
Yeah.
Right? The more that you can become less unattached to the outcome of it all, just the better you're going to be. And so for me, it's just learning. I just learned how to know that, like, hey, I just want to make sure that everybody knows about my business. Some are going to love it, some aren't, but everyone's going to understand what I do. And because down the road, maybe they could be a resource for me with a referral, or they decide that they maybe want to partner with me and promote my brand part-time, whatever it may be. Like, I just really have had that mindset of, it doesn't matter to me if you love this or not. I just want you to know what I'm up to.
That
right?
is so awesome. And
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened with us. I mean, right when you were starting it, you asked me if I was interested. I was like, no, I'm really focused on my acting and I don't have any interest in network marketing. And now And a lot of people, that's why your business has, grown to a multi-billion-dollar business this year. Everybody's home. Nobody can like go out in the world and do different kinds of businesses. There's not many auditions or anything in production right now for acting. It's like, yeah, let me call Sarah. I called you and I was like, are you still doing that home-based business? Because I want to do something from home. And I've been approached with everything, from financial services to legal services. But just like you said, I wanted to find something that I was passionate about. And what I am super passionate about is health and fitness and beauty. And I could talk about health and fitness and beauty all day long. So I was like, I knew that's what you were up to. And really, I found you. So had you not planted the seed 7 years ago, I would have found someone else. So I'm really grateful that you did, and that you were in the back of my mind. And literally during a meditation, boom, you popped into my mind, and I got a download like, oh, well, I'm supposed to call Sarah today.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is that I know that the timing, I think, is also understanding, like, whether you're network marketing or not, if you are in any type of sales, understand that the sales cycle and the timing is everything. I always tell people, it's like, imagine a clock, right? And you got like 12, 3, 6, and 9. Everybody in the world falls somewhere on that clock. And your whole goal is you got to catch them when they're at 12. And guess what? When I first talked to you, guess where you were at? You probably were at 3. You were not even close to 12. No. But it's that whole process that someone has to go through a lot of times to get that business account or sales account, or someone to become a partner with you in your business, right? So just understanding too, I think that's a really good principle, Rebecca, for people that have challenges with rejection, of going, hey, listen, when they say no, like, don't freak out. They're just not at 12 o'clock yet. That's okay. Right? That's okay. Just let them be. They'll come around the clock. Just make sure you're in the game when they do say yes.
Absolutely.
You got to stay in the game long enough, right? Until when they do say yes,
Yeah. I mean, I remember you drove 2 hours out of your way to meet with me, and also you invested in the relationship, which is another thing that the listeners, we learned that in our first company. We don't close sales, we open relationships. And you invested in the relationship, a couple hours of driving, an hour or two at dinner. And it's like, wow, like, Sarah's really my friend. She's not just trying to, like, get me into some, deal.
Yeah.
And I felt that connection. And even though we hadn't really talked a lot since then, it was a lasting impression.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important.
So if you don't have a lot of money to invest in a company, how can you start a home-based business?
So, well, the beautiful part about a home-based business is you can get started on a shoestring, right? I mean, I think about my friends that have opened up a sub shop, or they've tried to open up a boutique, or they've done, right? Some of them, they've been successful. Some of them, nowadays, it's rough, right? They've actually had to close their doors, which is just so heartbreaking, right? And so I look at what it costs to open up, some of these places. Like, one of my friends opened up a Quiznos. I don't know if you've ever heard of Quiznos, but like, for them, like, just to like fill an application was like $25,000. Like, let alone like pay, $500,000 for the franchise. Then what about all the food and the inventory and the employees and the tax and the insurance and you know where I'm going, right? I mean, it's crazy. So I always tell people, I'm like, guys, you can get involved in a home-based online business for $300. You can be in profitability within your first, couple days, and you're off to the races. Like, tell me somewhere else that you could actually do that, right? Now, you do have to believe in the service or the products and, the model that business has, right? But again, like, if you can get behind that, like, you're golden, right? So, yeah, I think that's the thing people have to realize too. It's like, oh my gosh, like, I'm crazy not to have a multiple stream of income in these times.
Yes.
You're crazy. Like, you've got to be able to be smart enough to go, I need multiple streams. Everyone needs a safety net. Everybody needs a plan B. It's like, why do people, they don't really do that much anymore, but why were they driving Uber and Lyft, right? Because they were part of the gig economy, right? Where it's like, I need to do something, I can do a job and I can get paid on it, right? And so inside of our business, that we have, it's very similar to the gig economy, right? Where within my brand, people can promote something and they get paid on it that day, right? And so again, we are just when we started this company, we're like, we've got to be able to, fill a need for people out there. And we feel like we've done a really good job of doing that.
I can't agree with you more. Multiple income streams is so important. And also brick and mortar, as I feel terrible for the small business owners and even the big companies of America that are just closing down their storefronts, but it's a thing that is just dying. So everybody, if you can find a way to tap into the online marketing economy, that is going to create stability in your income and give you an extra stream. And I can't say enough good things about online marketing. I've taken a lot of online marketing courses during this quarantine. There's so much to learn about launches and ClickFunnels and market, like email marketing, like it's a whole thing. But I'm just like throwing myself into it because I know that that's where the future is. The future is in doing business online.
Yeah, I mean, the internet's not going away.
No, it's not.
You know what I mean? Like it's just not. I mean, it's just getting bigger by the moment.
So your model differentiates network marketing from, you call it social retail marketing, right?
Yeah.
So can you explain to the listeners what is the difference in your opinion?
Yeah, I can do it very simply. So, our biggest thing is we looked at the whole area of like direct sales and network marketing. A lot of great things have come from there. So many people's lives have been enriched in so many different facets, right? So we took all the good things, all the things that we just love, but then we also looked at like social shopping and viral sharing and e-commerce and online marketing. Like we looked at all of those things and we're like, that is some big business. And we looked at what if we could kind of put it all together and create this awesome marriage. And so we actually call it social retail. And so we've been able to do that. And our whole model is based off of promo codes, which, everyone loves a promo code. They love a good deal. And so people, are loving the fact that, we're an online retail brand that, our whole umbrella of products are, really everyday essential products. But number one, they're super safe, meaning you can read the labels on you can read the ingredients on the label, you know what it says. But they're also super affordable for people because that's really important. But they're also high performance, meaning they actually they do what they say they're going to do. So when you can have an online retail brand built off promo codes that also has an incredible product line that does those three things, well, you're going to hit a home run. And that's what we've been able to do over the last 7 years.
What's your favorite product and why?
My favorite product is our BioCell, which is collagen, hyaluronic acid, and chondroitin sulfate. Why? Because we're all looking for the fountain of youth. Hello, ladies that are listening. How many needles? How much Botox? How much? You know what I'm talking about, right? Yep. And I'm like, what if we could give them a natural approach, and two, that costs a lot less, right? I mean, let's face it. And so, you can it's liquid collagen, so it's immediately absorbed into your bloodstream and people can drink it. And we've had tons of clinicals, we have like 7 US and international patents, lots of awards on it. And so that product by far is our number one selling product because everybody wants collagen,
So why is this, not to get too much into the science of it, but in layman's terms, why is this collagen so much more potent than all the other collagen products on the market? Because there's so many right now.
Well, you need to ask what's in that collagen. I mean, I think really simply delivery system, number one. A lot of collagen is in capsule, pill, powder form, right? Yeah. Ours is in a liquid. Pretty simple to figure out. If you take in a liquid, it immediately absorbs in your bloodstream, right? That's the first thing. But number two, a lot of these other collagen products that people are taking out there, where's the science behind it? Is it behind an infomercial? Is it on some website? I want to see your white papers. I want to see your clinicals. I want to see your patents. Like, if they don't have any of that stuff, like, I don't even know what you're getting. Like, I don't know. Is it a placebo? Is it good marketing? Right? So it's like, you've got to be smart enough to do your homework and due diligence to see the proof. You know, I'm a Midwest girl. I'm like, give me the facts, Jack. Like, don't give me a bunch of like, you know, don't give me smoke and mirrors. Like, I want to know legit, like, is this stuff really real? Otherwise, like, I'm out, right? I have no desire to even take a look at it. So, but you know, we've got some, you know, we've got all that research and homework that people can do, you know, in regards to it. But you know, it's an incredible thing. You know, the thing that I always tell people too, you have to understand, like, when you were a baby, when you were born, that's the reason babies were chubby, because they are chock full of collagen and hyaluronic acid. But guess what happens the minute you're born? You start losing all that stuff. So that's as you get older, you start losing your hair, dry skin, joint discomfort, your eyes start getting dry, because even the liquid in your eyes, right, is that. And so that's the thing. It's like, if we can give someone an option where they can, you know, put back in their body the hyaluronic acid and collagen in a really simple way, well, then let's do it. And so we did.
And I love it. I've been on it for just a week and it tastes so good. And I'm so excited that I found these products. I'm like super, super excited. And I also want to talk about the weight management product, because so many people want to lose weight. Everybody's obsessed with different trends like paleo or ketosis or, you know, high fat, low carb. There's so much talk right now of the best way to lose weight. So can you talk a little bit about your weight loss system? Because I know my listeners are always wanting, even if you're in pretty decent shape, like for me, I was in good shape, but I kind of hit a plateau where I just had a couple little problem areas. And this product I know is already helping me, and I've only been on it a few weeks. So do you want to talk a little bit about the weight loss program or the fat loss program?
Yeah. So our lean body system is actually like a 3-part system, and 2 out of our 3 products were actually created by a gentleman by the name of Greg Horn. And Greg Horn actually is a former CEO of GNC. I don't know if you know that. And so he's actually sits on our board. And so he's like, hey guys, like, I've got these really incredible products that I've been kind of keeping in my back pocket that I formulated that I'd like love to introduce to your brand. And so we're like, we're in, you know what I mean? We're on board. And so inside of our lean body system, it's basically just a 3-part system. But it's the one thing that I love about it, Rebecca, is it's actually sustainable for people. It's not like, hey, here's a cleanse and you know what I mean? You're gonna feel like you're dying for like 2 weeks. Like, enjoy it, right? I mean, like, who wants to do that? Or, you know, be on the toilet for a week. Like, no one wants to do that. You know, like no one wants to take products that they feel like, you know, their heart's jumping out of their throat, right? I mean, like, there's so much of that gimmicky stuff. And so we're like, listen, we can't come from the gimmick side. We have to come from pure science, you know? And so we understand people are doing keto and paleo and all these, and all of those are great, right? Yeah. They're great. Whatever you want to do, great. Whatever works for your body, awesome, right?
Right.
And, but also too, like, these are great products to help supplement that weight loss, right? And, you know, and I think too, what's important is that our whole thing is really helping people get on the track of creating healthy lifestyle.
Right.
It's not about getting in and saying, hey, you're going to go lose 90 pounds today. It's about, listen, I know you are having a hard time just getting it started. Let us be a catalyst for you to start doing things that are healthier, right? And so we're like, hey, here are 3 things. One's a simple detox. You just take it 3 nights in a row, just mix it in water, drink it, you're good to go. You know, the second one is a natural thermogenic. So it just boosts your metabolism, gets things going, right? As we get older, our metabolism slows down. I know before I started taking the product, I felt like my metabolism was like sludge. It was slow. And then the third one is a product that's called Trim, that what that does is it actually targets your fat, you know, hard to lose fat areas, right? So under your arms, your tummy, your thighs, and that actually helps change your body composition, right? Which is, I feel, is actually more important than just losing the pounds, is that it's your overall body composition. I think some people have seen, like, have you ever seen like those side-by-side photos of a girl, and literally that's different is like 3 pounds, but she looks so different because
Right.
it's a change of her body composition. And it's teaching people to learn how to focus on that versus all this weight they think they need to lose, when it's actually a lot of times just targeting that, specific fat, areas, etc. So putting those 3 things together, combined with just some, good old fashioned walking, drinking more water, you know what I mean, cutting down on some fatty foods, etc. We've just seen people just have some really great results. And more importantly, we've seen them actually follow through with the system.
It's so easy. Yeah. I just
That's
put
what I
a
mean.
spoonful of it in my smoothie every morning, and I'm good to go. And I also want to talk about your energy, because I've been drinking it during our whole interview. It's called Revitalize, and there's no caffeine in it, but yet I'm feeling incredible energy. So I know a lot of people are addicted to energy drinks and coffee, and that is really depleting their adrenal glands. So they're never really going to feel energetic unless they have those things. So it's kind of like a dependency. So can you explain how the Revitalize works?
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's kind of scientific, and like I'm not really
Just a little
scientific
bit,
enough.
just in like,
Well, it's really
minutes term.
simple. I mean, all it is it comes in a stick pack. You just mix it in a bottle of water. You're good to go. Really simple. But it just has, vitamins, minerals in it. Tastes super yummy, as you know. Has electrolytes in it, right? Great for hydration. And like you said, it doesn't have any caffeine in it. So it's like, let's just give our body what it's craving. And so it's just a great, plus too, it's refreshing. So I think sometimes people they want to grab something. And so this is just a great alternative that you can just grab, and it's refreshing. You can mix it. I have people that actually will mix sparkling water with it sometimes, because it's almost like a little bit of a spritzer, right? So you can kind of change that up too. But again, it's for us, it's just looking at, what are great things that we can give people to start living cleaner, right? We know everybody's form of living clean is a little bit different. And sometimes if you have never done that yet, it can seem overwhelming.
Right.
So it's like, let's just give people just little steps, step by step, that they can start using, different products that we have to little by little start, living a cleaner lifestyle.
That's amazing. And listeners, you are going to get a promo code to get a discount off your first product order, which I'm so excited about. One more question about how you work at home. I know your kids are home. They're super young. They're 5 and 7. So now you're doing the homeschooling. It's summertime. You can't really send them to camp. And you work with your husband at home, which it could be a lot, even though
doesn't that sound crazy?
I know, even though you guys are totally in love and have a great marriage. So how do you stay organized? How do you practice time management? How do you organize your day working at home when there's all this energy at home?
Well, I think you got to figure out what works for you, right? What works for me is not going to work for you. And
how do you do it?
Right? So for me, I have kids. So I'm a big time blocker. The reality is my kids are little. So my time block is 15 minutes at a time. I know that sounds crazy, but I have 15 minutes till something goes down with my kids. No, there's a meltdown, a fight, I need a popsicle. I mean, I don't know what, right? You know what I mean? So, so for me, I'm like, I know that, and what I think is sometimes a myth for people. They think that if they can block out an hour or 2 hours, they're going to get all this stuff done, when the reality is it's like, some of us, we're going to work better in smaller time blocks, because in that you got 15 minutes and you got to jam. You got to, those things that you do in those 15 minutes need to be things that are moving you closer to your goal. You know what I mean? Those 15 minutes, it needs to be like everything that you're doing needs to be kind of what I call, income producing activities, inside of my business. Right. And so I think I love it because I actually get more done in the 15 minutes, Rebecca, than if I had a 2-hour time block, because then I'd start messing around with stuff. You know what I mean? Oh, I forgot I got to go put that laundry in the dryer. Oh, the doorbell's ringing. Oh, I need to do, so I work it in 15-minute increments throughout my day. And you know what? There's some days that are awesome. And then there's some days that it's such a crazy day with my kids and me and how it all went down, that you know what I do? I go, guys, like, we all have to go to bed right now. There's nothing else to do except we all need to go to bed, and we're going to start over tomorrow, right? And that's okay, right? And give yourself some grace, and you wake up, and guess what? You get to go do it again, right? So I think for me, it's just the time blocking I do. I definitely do, like, every night I do a reflection. I look at, hey, what are the things that I got done that were awesome? Right? You got to celebrate your wins. Like, for all the women that are listening, the worst thing that we do is we never celebrate. We celebrate the big wins, but guess what? There's a whole series strung together of small wins to get you to that big win. And most people, they skip celebrating those small wins.
Yeah.
Totally skip it out. And so every night I celebrate a win. Like, no matter how small it is, I celebrate it, pat myself on the back.
So you actually write it down.
Yeah, it's super important.
That's awesome.
It's super important, right? So figuring out at night, like, hey, what I do that was awesome, and what are the things, like, what maybe happened during the day that I probably could have done a better job on. How I reacted, how I handled the situation, was I procrastinating on something, right? Whatever that is, then I just look at it, I go, okay, this is how I'm going to get better at that. And then the next day I wake up and I, work my day.
You're doing the 12 steps, Sarah, and you don't even realize it. That's the 10th step. You
that's awesome.
Take an inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. But yeah, you inventory your day. And I've heard from people, they write a what I did well list and what I learned today list.
I love that.
That is really cool that you're doing that. Maybe that's why you're on such a fast trajectory of personal growth. So you and your husband are both working from home. So how does that work? Do you each have your own home office? Do you work together at the same time? Do you guys take a work break? One takes the kids to the park and the other one's like doing conference calls. Like, how do you guys work together so well as a team at home?
You know what? We just learned to pick up the load when we need it. Just take the initiative and just carry it when you need to. You know what I mean? Don't look for one person or the other to do it. Don't look for somebody to say, hey, thanks so much that you did it. Like, just do it. And so we've just learned how to just pick up whatever needs to get picked up at the time. You know what I mean? And we know that some days one of us is going to be off and the other one just carries the load. And we don't look at it and say, well, I'm carrying the load and you're not, you know what I mean? Like, we just know that. But we are very, very hypersensitive of making sure that we're both not down on the same day.
Yes.
We're both not off on the same day. Like, there's days that I've wanted to be off, but because he's off, I've had to like put my big girl underwear on, and I had to like be like, no, you can't be like that right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, I think for us, it's just learning how to also too, what a big thing is that someone gave us great marriage advice. And I ask this to anyone that's ever in a great relationship. I always ask them, I'm like, hey, give me one tip on why it's rocking for you.
That's smart.
Right? And someone shared with us, they said, make sure you guys always celebrate each other's differences.
Aww.
Always do that. Otherwise, you can get so caught up, right? And what they're not doing right, or why they should be doing it better, or you get frustrated or whatever, and just go, hey, you know what? That's different for me, and that's okay. That's what makes them you, them, right?
People like when marriages start to go sour, and I know because I was in one that did, you start building a case against each other when they're different. It's like, oh, well, he did this and that wrong, and he built a case against me, and then it's like everything stacked against you and you got nowhere to go but to divorce court. It's really sad.
Yeah.
So I really like what you said about celebrating the differences.
Yeah. And I think too, reminding each other when we do want to have a little spat, or I always stop and I'm like, Sarah, like, is this petty right now? Like, does this really matter that you're going to talk about this? If not, like, shut your mouth. Like, I don't even
Exactly.
say anything, you know what I mean? And we've worked really well together, that way. And, it's, I mean, we're both type A. So, I mean, we work very, very hard. I mean, when we first started our business together, our first year and a half was freaking rough. But we had to decide. We're like, either A, we're going to sit down and we're going to figure this out together. Like, do we really want to work together? Or B, like, we love each other. We're going to be married, but we're not working together. So we got to figure, what do we want to do? And we said, let's figure it out.
So now you learned how to dance together.
Yes. Yeah. It's a little, he steps on my toes sometimes, and sometimes I bump into him, but it's part of the deal, right?
And now you guys are building this billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar company while you're married, while you're working from home. I think it's so inspiring, Sarah. And I got to tell you, I am like just in awe of what you've been able to do in the last 7 years since we had that dinner. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, look what you've built, like the successful marriage, the kids, the business. So I'm just really inspired. I'm so happy that we reconnected and that we're back in each other's lives.
Me too.
And I want my wonderful listeners to be able to be inspired by you as well. So how can people stay in touch with you?
Well, social media, obviously, right? So my husband Tony and myself, we're both obviously on Facebook. We have a website that's just Sarah, so SARAH, and then and Tony TONY.com. So sarahandtony.com is where you can connect with us as well, and follow all our crazy stuff with our kids and all that stuff. I tend to live my life on social media. I think it's fun. I love to inspire and be a light, as you know, because there's a lot of negativity and darkness everywhere. And I'm like, man, I got to be a lighthouse for everybody. So I feel I have a big job to do on social media.
You are doing it. So your social media name is what? Sarah Zolecki?
Yeah, Sarah Zolecki. Yep.
And on Instagram, what is it?
Same thing.
Awesome. So definitely look her up. And then I will be putting in the show notes your promo code for your $10 off any of these amazing products, which you guys have got to try. Believe me, I was so skeptical. I was like running the other way when she asked me. And now I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to try next? I'm like, incredible product line. And I feel like my skin is glowing after only 1 week on this collagen. So I'm so excited. So everyone, thank you so much for listening to the Balanced, Beautiful, Abundant show. It would mean the world to me if you like this podcast, if you know anyone who would benefit, to please share it with them. That is how we grow this podcast. We are not sponsored. We don't have paid advertisements. It's all through our loyal listeners and word of mouth. So thank you so much for listening, everyone. And we will see you next week with another amazing guest. Thank you so much, Sarah. You are incredible.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.